Hugh stood in front of Hugh station gate, his cross-shoulder backpack weighing heavily. The afternoon sky was gloomy, drizzle falling onto the old red-tiled roofs. Hugh was just as he remembered, quiet, slow, carrying the breath of the past. He pushed the luggage cart outside and heard a familiar voice calling out. Hugh, hey, Hugh, over here. Min, his best friend from middle school, waved and ran over. Hugh smiled and clasped his friend's shoulder. It's been so long, you haven't changed a bit. Min grinned, squinting. You're the one who's changed. After years in Saigon, you look sharp. Come on, hop on the bike. I'll take you home. Your grandma must be waiting. On the ride, they chatted cheerfully. The wind from the perfume river blew in, carrying a damp, earthy smell. So, how long are you staying this time? Min asked, eyes on the road. Maybe a few months. I want to rest. And also, I want to find a piece of the past. Hugh hesitated. What do you mean by that? Remember when we went to that elementary school in the suburbs? That place is abandoned now. Yeah, school number 7. Now it's just mossy walls. People say it's haunted. Min lowered his voice. Hugh turned to look out the window. The rain was heavier, blurring the glass. For a moment, he caught a glimpse of an old building. Cracked walls, a window hanging loose. His heart tightened slightly. Hugh's house was in a small alley near Trong Tien Bridge. When he walked in, his mother, Mrs. Tu, had already set out dinner. Oh my God, Hugh, so you really came back? She exclaimed, both happy and emotional. Hugh bowed his head and hugged his mother. Yes, I'm back. I'll stay with you for a while. During dinner, Mrs. Tu talked about neighbors and the market. Hugh listened, occasionally smiling, but his mind wandered back to his school days. Mom, is that elementary school in the suburbs still there? Hugh asked. You mean school number 7? It's been abandoned for years. They say a lot of people died there during the war. So, she lowered her voice, eyes darting toward the window. Hugh frowned. Is that true? I don't know. Just what people say. Don't be foolish and go there. Folks are even scared to walk past it at night. The table fell silent. Only the sound of the rain dripping outside filled the room. Hugh rested his chopsticks and sighed. I just want to see the place where I studied. Mom, that's all. Mrs. Tu shook her head, clearly uneasy. The next day, Hugh and Min sat at a small cafe by the perfume river. The place was tiny, with old wooden tables and chairs, and soft trend music playing in the background. Min sipped his coffee, then said, I know you're dying to check out that school. But honestly, don't. Every now and then, people swear they hear kids reciting lessons. Just like back in the day. Hugh smirked. You actually believe that stuff? Doesn't matter if I do. People say they've seen someone in white standing in the hallway, especially on bright moonlit nights. Hugh drummed his fingers on the table, deep in thought. Would you go with me? Good God, are you crazy? I still want to live. Min chuckled awkwardly, but his eyes flickered with unease. They sat in silence, only the pounding of rain on the tin roof echoing around them. The air grew heavy. All right, let me think about it, Hugh said casually, but in his heart, he had already made up his mind. That night, Hugh sat in his room. The dim yellow bulb flickered while the rain outside never stopped. He opened an old photo album, flipping through pictures taken at school number 7, small faces, echoes of laughter from long ago. He reached out to touch the photo of the whole class standing at the school gate. Whitewashed walls, green painted doors already faded. Suddenly, a faint knocking sound came from the window. Knock, knock? Hugh startled. He turned around. Outside was only thick darkness. Probably a cat, he muttered. But his heart was racing. He closed the album, stood up, and pulled the curtain. For a brief moment, he thought he saw the figure of a child in a white and blue uniform standing in the rain at the corner of the yard. When he blinked, the image was gone. Hugh swallowed hard, his hand trembling. Leaning against the wall, he whispered, Tomorrow, I had to go see it for myself. The next morning, Hugh went to the alleyway noodle shop for Boon Bo. The small eatery was tucked at the corner, steam rising thickly, the smell of shrimp paste filling the air. The shop owner, ladling broth into bowls, asked, Oh, Are you Thu's son who works far away? That's you, isn't it? Hugh smiled and nodded. Yes, I just came back. Haven't had Boon Bo Hui in so long. I missed it like crazy. At the same table, a few neighbors overheard and joined the conversation. You'll see Hugh is still the same. But out by school number 7, it's strange. Strange how? Hugh asked. An old man with white hair, voice raspy, said, I've passed by a few times, and in the classrooms I saw flickering oil lamps. Late at night, you can hear children's voices chanting lessons. Gives me goosebumps. A middle-aged woman added. The other day a kid walked past, then came down with a fever. He said there was a teacher standing in the yard, her hair hanging loose, holding a ruler tapping cock cock. Everyone shuddered, murmuring nervously. Hugh stayed quiet, picking up a piece of pork roll with his chopsticks. But his eyes gleamed with curiosity. That afternoon, Hugh sat drinking tea with his mother on the porch. After the rain, sunlight broke through gently, but the air was still damp. Mrs. Tu looked at her son and sighed. I heard from the neighbors that you're planning to go into that school? Hugh nodded slightly. Yes, I want to revisit some memories. And, I don't believe those rumors. She set down her teacup. Voice stern. Don't be stubborn. Years ago, some curious boys went in there to play. One came back insane. Another fell sick for years. Even now, they've never recovered. Hugh frowned. Really, Mom? Maybe they just imagined too much. Mrs. Tu shook her head, eyes filling with tears. Don't make me worry. You're all I have left. I don't want to lose you to that cursed place. The air grew heavy. Hugh held his mother's hand, squeezing gently. I promise I'll be careful. I just want to take a look. I won't do anything reckless. She turned her face away, saying nothing more. The sound of cicadas in the garden drifted in, making the atmosphere even eerier. That evening, Hugh met Min at a roadside beer joint. Cold beer, plates of grilled nem lui already set out. Hugh spoke first. Min, come with me. Let's go to school number 7 and check it out. Min's eyes widened. Good Lord, I told you. Why go in there? You looking for trouble? Hugh smirked. Aren't you curious? We used to play there. So many memories. I just want to see what it looks like now. Min scratched his head, downed his beer in one gulp. I'm scared, honestly. But if you've already decided, fine. I'll go. At least 2 of us together is better than 1 alone. Hugh patted his friend's shoulder. I knew you wouldn't abandon me. They laughed, but the laughter was short, drowned out by blaring music from a nearby karaoke bar. In both their eyes, the unease was clear. That night, Hugh rode his bicycle alone toward the outskirts. The dirt road twisted and turned, with abandoned fields and rows of bamboo rustling in the wind on both sides. As he neared the school grounds, he stopped. In the distance, the outline of the building emerged faintly under the moonlight. The whitewashed walls were stained and peeling, wild grass growing as high as his knees. Suddenly, a cold gust blew past, carrying the musty, earthy smell of decay. Hugh squinted. Across the wide yard, he thought he saw small white figures darting quickly into the classrooms. He swallowed hard, telling himself, it's probably just my imagination. At that moment, the sound of children's laughter rang out, crisp and clear, echoing through the emptiness. Hugh shivered. His hands gripped the bicycle handlebars tightly. He spun around, but all around him was only darkness and the loud chirping of crickets. He whispered, as if making a promise to himself. Tomorrow, I'll go inside. The next morning, Hugh woke up early. He put on a light jacket and brought along a flashlight, a lighter, and a small notebook. Min was there too, holding a water bottle and a bag of banh mi. You're way too prepared. Looks like we're going camping. Min muttered. Better safe than sorry. If anything happens, at least we'll be ready. Hugh replied calmly. Min glanced at the road leading to the suburbs and sighed. I'm still nervous, but fine. Let's go. Just don't you dare leave me halfway, or I'll kill you. Both of them forced a laugh. The morning sun was pale and golden, the breeze rustling through banana plants in the garden, birds calling out in the distance. The peaceful atmosphere was a sharp contrast to what awaited them ahead. They stopped in front of the old school gate. The rusty iron doors stood half open, as if someone had just walked through. Wild grass overran the path, blocking the way. Min hesitated. Look at that. The gate's already open, like it's waiting for us. Hugh stepped forward, placing his hand on the icy cold bars. The gate creaked loudly, the sound echoing with a chilling resonance. Come on, let's go in, Hugh said softly. Inside, the schoolyard stretched wide, littered with broken bricks. Rows of classrooms stood cracked and stained, with tiles fallen off the roof. Windows shattered long ago, shards of glass still glinting in the sunlight like watchful eyes staring outward. The wind whistled through the cracks, producing an eerie, wailing sound. Min hugged his arms and muttered, "Damn, this is giving me chills." Hugh pushed open the door of a classroom. The rotten wooden door creaked loudly. Inside, thick dust covered everything. Desks and chairs stood crooked, and the blackboard was mottled with stains. On the teacher's desk lay a tattered notebook, its pages yellowed with age. Hugh opened it and saw faint chalk marks pressed into the thin paper. He whispered, "Looks like a student roster." Min peered over, his face pale. "Don't read it out loud. What if you call their spirits?" Just then, knock, knock, knock echoed, as if someone were rapping a ruler on the desk. Both of them jolted, spinning around. Nothing there. Hugh swept his flashlight across the room. The beam stopped at the blackboard. On it, 3 fresh chalk words stood out clearly. "Get out." Both froze. Min stammered, trembling. "Hugh, do you see that? Who wrote it? I want to know that too." Hugh swallowed hard. They hurried into the hallway. The silence was uncanny, broken only by the wind whistling through cracks in the walls. Suddenly, at the far end of the corridor, a figure appeared. Long hair hung loose, a white dye drifting softly. Min clutched Hugh's arm, shaking violently. The teacher, is that her?" The figure stood still, then slowly raised her face. Even from a distance, Hugh could feel those hollow black eyes staring straight at them. Children's laughter erupted again, this time echoing from all directions, as if the entire school had awakened. Min screamed, "I told you, you dragged me into a death trap." Hugh gripped his friend's hand tightly, forcing himself to stay calm. "If we run, we'll never know the truth. Stay, and I might finally find it." Footsteps echoed, clop, 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 as the white figure began to advance toward them. The figure came closer, each step heavy, dragging as if weighed down. The sound of footsteps reverberated along the endless corridor. Min trembled uncontrollably, clinging to Hugh's arm. I can't take it anymore." "Hugh, look at her. She's staring right at us." "Calm down. Stop screaming. You'll only make it worse." Hugh gritted his teeth. The flashlight swept over her. Long hair draped down, covering half her face. The white dye was torn and filthy, as if dragged through mud. Hugh suddenly shouted, "Who are you, human or ghost?" The figure froze. From behind the curtain of hair, lips moved, a muffled voice whispering, "Leave this place?" Min's face drained of blood. "You heard that? She's driving us out. Let's go." Scene 2. The chase. Just as they hesitated, the white figure suddenly lunged forward. Her speed was unnaturally fast, the tattered dye whipping violently in the air. "Run!" Hugh barked. Footsteps thundered down the hallway. Thud, thud, thud. Min bolted, glancing back in terror. "She's chasing us." "Hugh, she's right behind me." Hugh glanced quickly. The white figure was only a few meters away. Children's laughter mingled with the howling wind, forming a ghostly chorus. They dove into a nearby classroom, slamming the door shut. The decayed wooden door shook violently, as if about to burst open. Outside, the white figure pounded furiously. Thump, thump, thump. Min clutched his head. "We're doomed. We're trapped." "Quiet. Let me listen." Hugh pressed his ear against the door. Suddenly, the pounding stopped. Silence fell, thick, suffocating, unbearable. In the room, the flashlight beam revealed blotchy, peeling walls. In the center stood an old wooden cabinet, plastered with student merit certificates. The papers were yellowed, the ink faded, but the class names and teacher names were still legible. Hugh stepped closer, and one of the certificates fell to the floor. On the back, written in smeared red ink, were the words, "Don't believe what you see." Min trembled. Who wrote that? A student? Or, I don't know, but clearly, someone left a message here. Hugh frowned. Just then, from the corner of the room came a whisper. Keep reading? They whipped around. No one there. The wooden cabinet shook. Its doors creaked open, revealing a small box wrapped in black cloth. Min swallowed hard. Don't open it. Hugh, no, I have to see. Hugh inhaled deeply, his trembling hands pulling the cloth away. Inside was a hardbound notebook, its cover stained with dried blood. Hugh flipped to the first page. The handwriting was messy, the very first line reading, "Diary of Class 7A." He skimmed a few pages. At first, the notes were ordinary, attendance, assignments, but the further he read, the more erratic the writing became. Whole pages repeated a single line over and over. The teacher told us to stay. On the final page, scrawled in large red letters, "Do not answer the call. If you do, you'll be trapped forever." Min's face went pale. Hugh, doesn't that sound exactly like what's happening to us now? Yeah, maybe the secret of this school lies in this diary. Suddenly, children's laughter rang out right behind them. They spun around and saw the white figure standing in the doorway. Black hollow eyes, a mouth stretched into a grin that reached her ears. "Where do you think you're going?" the voice echoed. The white figure blocked the doorway, its eyes two bottomless pits. Slowly, it bowed its head, hair hanging so low it nearly touched the floor, then snapped its neck back. Letting out a shrill, piercing laugh, Min shook uncontrollably. "Dear God, it's laughing. Hugh, you see it, don't you?" Hugh backed away, clutching the diary tightly in his hands. "What are you, a student, or something else haunting this school?" The figure didn't reply. Instead, it pointed at the diary. Its skeletal hand shook, long blackened nails reaching out. "Give it back to me." The door rattled violently. The figure took another step forward, cold air pouring into the room, making the flashlight flicker. Hugh gritted his teeth. "If you want it, then tell me, what's inside this diary?" The figure stayed silent. Then suddenly, every certificate on the wall ripped free, swirling wildly as though in a storm. Children's cries filled the room, echoing in every corner. Amid the chaos, the diary in Hugh's hands shook violently. Its pages flipped furiously as if controlled by an unseen force. Blood-red words appeared, one line after another. "We were locked in. We weren't allowed to go home. The teacher said we could play longer. No one escaped." Min screamed. "Oh my God, the words are appearing on their own. I swear the pages were blank just now." Hugh's face drained of color. He muttered, "Class 7A, they were all trapped here." Suddenly, the diary snapped open to the last page. Fresh red letters appeared, as if just written. "You, the reader, will take our place." At that instant, the white figure lunged forward, shrieking, "Get back to class?" Min panicked. "It wants to drag us into the classroom?" The classroom door suddenly burst open, and an invisible force dragged both of them into the hallway. A thunderous noise echoed, like 100 pairs of children's feet running all at once. In front of them was a classroom, the windows shattered, desks thick with dust, yet every single chair was neatly arranged. On the blackboard, a message stood out clearly. "Class 7A, the final lesson." Min whispered nervously, This is the classroom from the diary." As soon as they stepped inside, every chair scraped backward at once, as if invisible students were taking their seats. Whispers filled the room. "New students, new students." Sweat streamed down Hugh's face as he clutched the diary tightly. "Don't separate, stay right next to me." A figure appeared at the teacher's podium, a woman in a black dye. Her face pale, her eyes glowing blood red. She smiled. "Welcome, the two of you, to my class." The teacher raised her hand, and the classroom door slammed shut. The sound of a lock clicked into place. The room erupted with children's laughter as shadowy figures gradually materialized in the seats, gaunt, pale students with hollow eyes. Min panicked. "This can't be happening. These are Class 7A. The teacher slowly wrote on the board with chalk the color of blood. Today's lesson. No one leaves the classroom. Hugh shouted. Why? What do you want from us? The teacher turned, her lips curling into a cold smile. You two will stay behind as replacements. Class 7A needs new students. Instantly, the entire class chanted in unison, their voices booming. Sit down, sit down. The chairs behind them pulled out on their own. Beckoning, an invisible pressure weighed on their chests, suffocating them. Then the school drum suddenly thundered, boom, 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 at midnight, signaling the beginning of the ghostly lesson. Inside the room, the fluorescent lights flickered, then snapped on fully. But instead of warmth, the brightness only made the atmosphere colder. At the podium, the teacher in black smoothed her long hair, her voice calm and steady. Class, today we study math. The first problem. There are 30 students in the class. One disappears, how many remain? The students answered in perfect unison, their voices hollow. Still 30. Min swallowed hard, whispering to Hugh, did you hear that? They didn't subtract, they kept the same number. The teacher snapped her gaze toward them, her crimson eyes burning. You two at the back. Answer. Hugh drew in a breath. It's 29. The air instantly froze. All the ghostly students turned their heads toward him, grinning twisted smiles, their teeth blackened. The teacher clenched her jaw, her voice harsh. Wrong. In my class, no one ever leaves. Even in death, the number is still 30. The screech of chalk scraped across the board, forming blood-red words. No escape. Suddenly, the air reeked of blood. On the desks, pools of crimson spread, dripping onto the floor, soaking into their shoes. Min screamed. Blood, it's everywhere. The ghostly students lowered their heads to the desks, whispering, drink it, drink it. On Hugh's desk, a glass appeared, brimming with fresh blood. The teacher smiled wickedly. If you want to stay, you must drink the blood and swear loyalty. Hugh trembled, clutching the diary tightly. You think I'd ever do that? The teacher slammed her hand on the desk, the sound like thunder. Silence. Anyone who enters this class belongs to Class 7A. The lights flickered wildly. The classroom door sealed shut. Not even a crack left. Min's face went pale with despair. Hugh, it's over. We're really trapped. At that moment of hopelessness, the diary in Hugh's hands sprang open. The smeared red lines reshaped into a clear message. The teacher lost her child. The whole class was forced to stay with her. If you want to escape, you must return her child. Cold sweat ran down Hugh's back as he muttered. She doesn't want students, she wants to fill the void of her loss. But, where's her child? The teacher heard him, her eyes blazing. Don't speak of it. It was taken by someone from this very school. Her scream tore through the ceiling like thunder. Boards crashed down, desks clattered. Min panicked. Hugh, the only way to survive is to find that child. The teacher's shadowy form flickered, then strode toward them, her hands stretched like claws. Hugh grabbed Min's arm and lunged for the door. But the moment he touched the handle, an invisible force hurled them both backward. The teacher's laughter echoed, chilling to the bone. You think you can leave? This school is your grave now. Suddenly, the school bell tolled, dong, dong, dong. But it wasn't the dismissal bell. It was the death knell. The ghostly students rose in unison, advancing toward Hugh and Min, chanting over and over, stay, stay, stay. The room darkened to pitch black, save for the teacher's blazing red eyes glowing in the void. Hugh clutched the diary to his chest, swearing, if your child was truly taken, I'll find them. But first, I have to escape this cursed classroom. The entire room shook violently as children's wails echoed, the classroom transforming into a hell within the abandoned school. After the screams, the classroom quaked even harder. Light burst from the diary's pages in Hugh's grip, and suddenly, both he and Min were hurled out into the dark hallway. They crashed onto the floor, gasping. Behind them, the classroom door was gone, vanished as though it had never existed. Min panted, we're safe for now. But where do we go? Hugh flipped open the diary again. Fresh ink bled across the page. The infirmary, that's where the truth lies. Trembling, they made their way to the farthest building, where a rotting wooden sign read infirmary. The wooden door creaked open, releasing the stench of medicine and dried blood. Inside, the infirmary beds were blanketed in dust, sheets stained with dark red as if surgeries had been performed there. On the medicine table sat a small locked box. Carved on the lid were the words, "My child." Hugh took a deep breath, his trembling hand reaching for the lid. But instantly, a white shadow darted past the window, and the sound of a child's giggle echoed all around them. They bolted into the hallway. A child's cries drifted in the air, near then far. Min shivered. Hugh, could it be? The teacher's child is still wandering here? The sound drew them to a half-collapsed staircase. Below was only darkness, as deep as an abyss. From within it came a frail voice. "Mom, I'm cold, I'm scared." Min dropped to his knees, eyes wet. "You hear that, Hugh? It's calling for its mother." At that moment, photos of students fell one by one from the wall. Hugh picked one up, heart pounding. It was a boy, around 8 years old. Beneath was written, "Nguyen Hoang Nam, missing." On the back, a hurried scrawl read, "Don't let her find him." The cries guided them to a rusted iron door at the end of the corridor. Bloody child-sized handprints smeared across it. Hugh shoved hard. The door groaned open, cold air sweeping out like wind from a grave. Inside was a cramped basement. Chains marked the walls, and toys lay scattered across the dirt floor. A torn teddy bear. A few school notebooks. In the corner stood a rotten crib. Inside, the skeletal remains of a small child, wrapped in a moldy blanket. Min collapsed, clutching his head, screaming, "Dear God, he really is dead." Just then, the teacher's laughter roared through the basement. "So, you found my child. Good, now we can be together again." Her black-robed figure emerged from the wall, her face twisted with fury, her eyes glowing like blood. Advancing toward the crib, Hugh staggered back, trembling. "No, it wasn't you who lost your child. The boy was imprisoned here. Someone at this school killed him." The teacher froze, her face contorting. "Lies. My child was taken from me and buried beneath this basement. They all deserve to die." The ceiling cracked open, blood seeping through, painting the basement red. Corpses of students hung from the walls, mouths stretched in grotesque smiles, whispering in unison, "We cannot leave, we must stay with her." Hugh gritted his teeth, holding the diary tight. If the truth was buried, then this book will reveal it. Suddenly, the pages burst into flame, blazing with a single bloody line. The killer was not the teacher. The world shook violently. The child's cries rose again, this time no longer pleading, but filled with rage. Blood dripped from the ceiling of the basement like rain. Min clung to Hugh in terror. Impossible, impossible. If it wasn't the teacher, then who killed the child? In the suffocating darkness, the teacher's laughter boomed. "Who else would you blame? They all betrayed me, and they will all pay." Hugh gripped the diary tightly, shouting with all his strength, "No, you were deceived too. Someone murdered your child and trapped your soul here." Instantly, the blood stopped falling. The oppressive silence deepened. The teacher slowly turned her face, her crimson eyes softening into sorrow. On the walls, the shadowy students faded away. A new page in the diary flipped open on its own. The shaky handwriting looked like it came from someone dying. The child didn't die by accident. He was murdered by the principal to hide the secret. As soon as the words appeared, the basement door burst open. A violent gust swept them out, hurling them before the old principal's office. The rotting wooden door hung by its hinges, a half-broken nameplate dangling, barely legible. Nguyen Kak T. Inside, the room was pitch black. A desk sat buried in dust, cluttered with books. On it lay a map of the school, red circles marking special areas, the infirmary, the basement, and the principal's office itself. Hugh pulled open a drawer. Inside was an old notebook. The handwriting was nothing like the diary, rigid, cold, merciless. Her child knew too much. He overheard my conversation with the officials. If he lived, everything would be exposed. He had to be dealt with, pitiful. Yes, but necessary for the school to survive. Min trembled, cold sweat streaming down his face. My God, the principal killed the teacher's son to silence him? At that instant, the office shook violently. Filing cabinets burst open, hundreds of documents spilled to the ground, fake records, all covering up the deaths of students. From the center of the room, a man's figure emerged, clad in an old suit, his face pale, with no eyes, no nose, only a gaping mouth stretched to his ears. It was the principal. He roared, "You are not allowed to know. The truth must stay buried beneath this school." The floor cracked wide, countless hands reached out, dragging Hugh and Min down. The teacher appeared beside them, clutching the ghostly cradle. It was you. You murdered my child." The child's cries thundered, louder than ever. The walls crumbled, blood spraying like fountains. Hundreds of student spirits materialized, their eyes blazing at the principal. Hugh shouted, "You're the murderer, not her." The teacher's ghost turned to Hugh, her twisted face slowly softening. For the first time, a tear glimmered in her blood-red eyes. The scene warped into a colossal classroom. Desks shattered, the blackboard smeared with blood. The principal stood at the center, grinning grotesquely, clutching a long wooden ruler like a weapon. "This is all in your imagination. I did it for my career. For the school's reputation. What is one child worth?" The teacher clutched her child's spirit, hatred blazing in her gaze. "You turned this school into a graveyard. Tonight, I'll drag you down with these children." The air trembled violently. Hugh and Min were trapped in the middle of the supernatural clash. Behind the teacher, hundreds of student ghosts gathered, forming a wall of vengeance. Hugh clenched his jaw, reopening the diary. The final page revealed a short, chilling command: "Only the living can end the curse." His heart pounded as he realized he was the one who had to face the principal's spirit. Hugh's eyes snapped open. Before him was an old classroom, desks neatly arranged as if for a lesson. A dim yellow neon light flickered overhead. The ceiling fan squeaked as it turned. Min was gone. Hugh was alone. On the blackboard, words scrawled in blood red. "If you want to survive, finish the final lesson." The door was locked tight, the windows sealed with newspaper. The air was stifling, rotten, as though locked for decades. At every desk sat a student, but when Hugh looked closer, they were nothing but dry corpses in uniforms. Heads slumped forward, footsteps echoed. Clop, clop, clop. The principal entered, wearing a gray suit, clutching a wooden ruler. His grin split his face wide to his ears. "Today I am the teacher, and you are my only living student. If you pass the final exam, you and your little friend will be spared. If not..." He slammed the ruler on the desk. All the corpses lifted their heads, hollow sockets staring, the stench of decay filling the room. In unison, they all turned their gaze on Hugh. The principal wrote on the blackboard, "Question 1. Who is the liar?" Immediately, 4 corpses stood up, each holding a slate with names: teacher, child, principal. No one. Sweat poured down Hugh's face. This was no longer just a question, it was a life or death choice. A whisper brushed his ear, the teacher's voice. "Don't let him deceive you, the truth is clear." Hugh shouted, "The liar is the principal." The air trembled violently. 3 of the corpses collapsed back onto their desks. The one with the slate, principal, ignited with blue flames. The principal's face twisted, his eyes flashing with rage. "Very good, but this isn't over yet." He scrawled again. Question 2. What is the price of life? The floor of the classroom split open, revealing a pit of thick, bubbling blood. Children's cries echoed from its depths. Corpses seated near the edge were sucked down, their limbs flailing before vanishing without a trace. Hugh staggered back, trembling, but the final line from the diary burned in his mind: "Only the living can end the curse." He clenched his teeth and shouted, "The price is the truth, paid with the life of the one who hid it." The classroom shook, and the pit sealed shut. The principal roared, his wooden ruler twisting into a long blood-stained axe. He swung it down hard, shattering a desk into splinters. At once, all the corpses sprang to their feet. charging at Hugh like ravenous beasts. Grabbing a chair, Hugh smashed it against one corpse, bones cracking, but it still crawled forward. He lunged toward the podium, snatched a piece of chalk, and scrawled on the board, "The truth equals the child's death." Suddenly, all the corpses froze. From the corner of the classroom, a child's sobs shifted into eerie giggles. An 8-year-old boy in white appeared. His face was smeared with blood, but his eyes shone brightly as he stared at Hugh. "You answered correctly, but there is still one last question." The principal howled and lunged, swinging the axe toward Hugh's head. The blackboard scrawled in blood on its own. Question 3. Who will take the place? The air froze. The principal sneered. "To break the curse, someone must stay behind. Are you ready, boy?" The child looked at Hugh, his expression torn between hope and sorrow. He whispered, "Only one person has to stay with us." Hugh's heart sank. To choose meant one of them, himself or Min, would be trapped in this cursed school forever. Replacing the souls of the dead, the principal raised the axe, shouting, "Choose, or both of you will die." In that life or death instant, Hugh clutched the diary, eyes blazing red. He screamed a decision, even he didn't know what consequences it would bring. The classroom air thickened, ready to explode. The neon lights above flickered violently, buzzing like angry insects. The principal stood at the podium, axe gleaming with blood, his eyes blazing like fire. The child's spirit stood silently in the corner, his young face twisted with grief and hatred. Laughter and weeping mingled from the corpses at their desks, suffocating the room. Hugh trembled, his mind torn apart. If he chose Min, the only living companion left, she would die in his place. If he chose himself, he would be trapped forever. While Min might escape, but what if both perished? The principal bellowed, "Hurry, choose, who will stay?" Hugh squeezed the diary so tightly his hand bled. Memories of Min's frightened yet defiant eyes flashed in his mind, moments when they fought to survive together. A thought struck him. Perhaps only by exposing the truth could anyone truly escape. Hugh opened his eyes, glaring at the principal, and roared each word, "The one who must stay is you." The world cracked apart, lights burst in sparks, chalk dust fell like snow. The principal froze, then burst into manic laughter. "Fool, you think someone like me can be imprisoned? I am the master of this place." But before he could strike, the child's spirit spoke. "No, you are the liar. You promised to protect us, but you sold our lives for your title. To bury your crimes." The child's voice boomed, joined by the wails of dozens of souls. The corpses all rose, turning toward the principal. Their empty sockets glowed red, skeletal hands reaching. The principal recoiled, his face twisted with fear. He shrieked, "No, impossible. I am your teacher. You must obey me." But the corpses no longer obeyed. They swarmed him, dragging him to the floor. He thrashed, swinging the axe wildly, but it was useless. Dozens of hands ripped at his suit, tearing his flesh apart. Blood sprayed across the walls. His screams echoed through the halls, horrific, endless. The child in white stepped forward, looking up at Hugh. "You did the right thing. But the truth is not finished. The one who must truly decide is you." Hugh's breath caught. The principal had been punished. Yet the curse wasn't broken. The spirits wailed in unison. One living soul must remain, or the cycle never ends. Hugh collapsed to his knees, shaking. The classroom crumbled around him, ceiling falling, walls splitting. If he didn't choose, both he and Min would be buried alive. Through the chaos, a voice pierced the roar, Min's voice, calling from afar, "Hugh, where are you? Come out now." That call pulled him back from the edge. Hugh took a deep breath and looked at the child. "I won't let anyone else be trapped here again. If someone has to take their place, I'll volunteer," he shouted, tearing open his palm, letting blood drip onto the diary. The bloody writing on the board suddenly glowed bright, mixing with the laughter and sobs of the spirits. The child looked at him, eyes glistening. "It will hurt a lot, but thank you." Immediately, the child's spirit and all the corpses dissolved into white smoke, swirling around Hugh. His body felt like it was being pulled out of reality, his soul spinning. In the final moment, he saw Min appear at the classroom door, eyes brimming with tears. "No, Hugh, don't leave me." But Hugh only managed a faint smile. Whispering, "Live, Min." The classroom doors burst open, blinding light flooding in, sweeping Min away. Hugh vanished into the swirl of white smoke. The school fell silent again, as if nothing had ever happened. A thunderclap split the sky. Min jolted awake, sitting up with a gasp. Before her wasn't the haunted classroom. No corpses or screams, just her small rented room on the outskirts of Hugh. The window was slightly open, rain tapping against the tin roof, the wind howling eerily. Her heart pounded, her body drenched in cold sweat. She looked around, everything seemed familiar, as though no nightmare had ever happened. On the small wooden table still sat yesterday's untouched teacup, her half-open laptop with an unfinished work report. But when her eyes fell to the corner, Min froze. The old diary Hugh had once held lay neatly on the table, its cover still stained with dried blood. Her hand trembled as she reached for it, whispering, "Hugh, is that you?" The rain outside suddenly grew heavier, as if echoing an answer from afar. Min didn't sleep all night. Hugh's sacrifice, his final forced smile, replayed in her mind again and again. She tried to convince herself it was just a nightmare from reading the diary too much. But why was the diary here? She had seen Hugh clutch it tightly, his blood soaking its pages. She flipped it open. The first pages were still filled with scattered notes, memories of the old fire and the students who had died unjustly. But on the very last page, Min's breath caught. A new line had appeared, scrawled in fresh blood. "Min, don't come back. Leave this place." Hugh. Her hands shook violently, tears streaming down her cheeks. She whispered, "You're still there? You're trapped there?" Outside, the church bell tolled 12 times, echoing long and heavy through the storm. Min's heart felt as if it were being crushed. The next morning, she forced herself to go to work, hoping routine would calm her. But the moment she stepped outside, everything felt wrong. The old woman selling sweet soup at the alley, the one Min always bought from, stood motionless today. Her cloudy eyes fixed on Min without saying a word. A boy kicking a ball stopped. The ball rolled to Min's feet. He smiled, but when she picked it up and handed it back, his hand was icy cold, his skin pale as a corpse. All along the street, everyone seemed strange. Shoppers at the market, people riding motorbikes, yet whenever Min tried to focus on their faces, they blurred, twisted, as if hidden behind a thin veil of smoke. She stumbled back in horror. Everything looked too much like the illusions inside the haunted school. A chilling thought struck her. Maybe I never really escaped at all. That night, Min returned to her rented room, her mind in chaos. She locked the door tight, drew the curtains shut, trying to convince herself it was all in her head. But when she looked into the mirror to wash her face, she froze. The reflection staring back wasn't her, it was Hugh. His face was gaunt, his eyes hollow, his lips moving faintly. "Min, you haven't escaped. That school, it's still following you." Min screamed, stumbling backward. The mirror rattled, cracking with a long fracture. Children's laughter echoed through the room, mingling with the pounding rain outside. She shouted, "Leave me alone." The diary on the table snapped open. Pages flipped violently until stopping on a single line. "Go back to the school. Free us all." Min collapsed onto the floor, trembling. She understood now, though Hugh had sacrificed himself, the cycle wasn't over, and this time, it was her turn to face it. Min sat curled up all night beside the diary, her eyes dark with exhaustion, her hair a tangled mess. The blood-soaked words seemed to hypnotize her, echoing in her mind. Go back to the school. Free us all. At first, she tried to deny it. She told herself Hugh was just a memory, that everything was only trauma haunting her. But the harder she denied it, the more the signs piled up. Children's footsteps in the hallway past midnight, fleeting shadows in mirrors, the blank, soulless eyes of people on the street whenever she stepped outside. Finally, Min exhaled shakily, gripping the diary. If this is the only way to end it, then I'll do it. She packed a few things into her backpack, a flashlight, a lighter, a folding knife for defense. As she closed her door, she felt dozens of unseen eyes watching her from behind. That day in Hue, the sky was dark, gray clouds swirling as cold winds howled through the narrow alleys. Min got on her bike, heading toward the hill where the abandoned school loomed among the pine trees. The path leading to the school was littered with fallen pine needles. The crunch of her tires on the damp ground made her shiver. She had to stop and continue on foot. The road was too broken. The deeper she walked, the more familiar everything seemed. Moss-covered stone steps, a rusted iron gate, and the school's signboard, its name nearly erased, middle school. The scene was identical to what she had once seen in her dream. But this time, she knew it was real. The moment she stepped past the ruined gates, the wind died. Not a single leaf stirred. No birds, no sound. The whole place frozen, cut off from the outside world. Her heart hammered. She clutched the diary tighter. It burned hot in her palm. As if guiding her, she whispered, "Hugh, I came back." Somewhere in the shadowy hallways, a child's laugh rang out, making her skin crawl. Min walked down the endless hallway, her flashlight sweeping over rotted wooden doors. The walls still bore scorch marks, scars of the past that would never fade. She stopped before a familiar classroom, the one where it had all begun. The door creaked open, releasing the stench of old smoke and blood. Desks lay overturned, and on the blackboard, faint chalk scrawls still lingered. "Give us back our lives." In that moment, Min heard them, the screams, the crashes of desks, the terrified cries of children. The air thickened, suffocating, as if dozens of restless spirits pressed in around her. And then, through the dim light, she saw Hugh. He stood at the back of the room, leaning against the board, his face gaunt, his eyes glowing red. "So, you came back," his voice rasped. Min broke down in tears. "Hugh, you're really alive?" He only gave her a sorrowful smile. "No, I don't belong to this world anymore. But it's you who must end this." Min rushed toward Hugh, but with every step it felt like dozens of invisible hands were pulling her back. She collapsed, surrounded by blurry figures, students, teachers, all charred and twisted, their faces deformed. They screamed, "Give back our lives. We were burned alive unfairly. Don't let us stay trapped forever." Min trembled, clutching the diary to her chest. At that moment, Hugh stepped forward, kneeling in front of her. "Listen to me, only you can open the door to set them free. But it comes with a price." What price?" Min asked, choking on her words. Hugh lowered his face, whispering, "It means you'll have to stay behind, in my place." Thunder cracked loudly, and the classroom door slammed shut. Darkness swallowed everything as the ghosts closed in. The diary flew open, its pages bursting with fire, forming a blazing red portal in midair. Min looked at Hugh, tears streaming down her face as the spirits wailed around her. This time, she knew, there was no turning back. Flames from the diary burned bright, not destroying the paper but swirling into a deep crimson vortex. A gateway. The air reeked of blood, mixed with black smoke pouring from the pages. Min collapsed before the light, her wide eyes filled with terror. All around her, the ghosts screamed, stretching their arms as if desperate to dive into the portal. Hugh stood beside her, voice heavy. "This is the only chance. You had to guide them all through, but the portal needs a vessel." "You mean, me?" Min whispered, her voice trembling. Hugh stayed silent, only nodding. In the firelight, his face flickered, fading piece by piece into nothingness. Min's chest tightened. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She had run from this for so long, only to find that everything now rested on her shoulders. The screams grew louder. Ghostly children rushed at Min, their faces twisted, eyes hollow, mouths chanting endlessly, "Let us out! Don't keep us locked away!" The entire classroom shook, desks flipping, bricks crashing down. Min clung to the diary as icy hands clawed at her, their whispers like knives. "Help us!" cried a small child's voice, trembling and fragile. Min turned and saw a little girl with singed hair. tears streaming from her hollow eyes. The sight ripped through her heart. All these souls, they were innocent. She screamed above the chaos. "Fine, I'll get you out, but you have to listen to me." For a moment, silence fell. Every spirit froze, staring at Min with desperate eyes. The diary glowed brighter, answering her vow. Hugh stepped closer, resting his fading hand on her shoulder. His voice shaking. "I'm sorry. It should have been me. But only you can reach them. I'll stay with you until the very end." Min looked into his eyes, watching his form dissolve little by little. Time was slipping away. She pulled out her folding knife, bit her lip hard, and slashed her palm. Blood dripped onto the diary's pages. Instantly, the book blazed with blinding light. As if awakened, bloody words appeared on the cover. "The sacrifice of one, for the freedom of 100 souls." The entire classroom trembled violently, cracks racing across the walls. The spirits began to dissolve into streams of white smoke, flowing into the burning gateway. Cries, laughter, and sighs blended together into a sorrowful chorus. Min staggered, blood streaming from her hand, her vision blurring. She felt herself unraveling. One by one, the souls stepped through the portal. With each passing spirit, Min felt heavier, her breath more ragged, as if she were carrying all their pain herself. Hugh caught her, his voice breaking. "Hold on, Min, just a few more." She smiled weakly. "If I disappear, will you forgive me?" "I'll never forget you," Hugh whispered, tears streaking his face. Finally, only Hugh remained. He looked at the portal, then at her. "I have to go too," Min screamed, clinging to his hand. "No, stay with me. Don't leave me alone." Hugh gave her a faint smile, whispering in her ear, "I've been dead for a long time. Min, this is the last time I can touch you." He pulled free and stepped into the portal. The room flared bright, then fell into total darkness. The gateway snapped shut, leaving Min kneeling in the silence, blood pooling beneath her, the classroom swallowed by an unbearable stillness. Min opened her eyes, feeling as if she had just been hurled out of an abyss. The screams were gone, the blinding red light was gone. All that remained was the ruined classroom, mold-stained walls, broken desks and chairs scattered about. She looked around, her chest aching. "Hugh," her voice was hoarse, trembling. There was no reply, only the wind whistling through the shattered window, carrying the stench of mold and a chilling cold. On the floor lay the diary, its cover scorched at the edges but still intact. The last page was stained with her blood, the crimson words now smudged. Min tried to stand, but her legs shook violently. Her body drained of all strength. She felt as though she had lost more than just blood, she had lost part of her soul. Min dragged herself into the hallway. The school was now eerily silent. No whispers, no footsteps, none of the strange noises that once surrounded her. Only the dry, distant chirping of insects from outside the courtyard. But as she passed the staircase, she froze. A figure was standing there, tall and thin, back turned toward her. Min's heart pounded furiously. "Hugh." The figure slowly turned. It wasn't Hugh. It was a middle-aged man, his face pale, his eyes completely white. He gave a twisted smile, then vanished before Min's eyes. A freezing chill raced down her spine. She stumbled backward into the wall, her heart ready to explode. No, impossible. I freed them already. The school still held something that refused to leave. Panicking, Min quickly opened the diary. The pages had changed, no longer just the grievances of the students, it now bore fresh words. As if someone had just written them. The students were only sacrifices. The one truly imprisoned is me. Blood seeped across the page, the crimson letters spreading wider. Min staggered back, her face pale as death. The truth hit her, she hadn't ended it. She had freed the innocent souls. But the true mastermind, the one who had turned this school into hell, was still here. A raspy laugh echoed down the hall, coming from everywhere and nowhere. "Thank you for opening the door. Now, you will take their place." Min clutched the book tightly, her hands trembling uncontrollably. For the first time, she realized the price of saving them was herself. Outside, dawn began to break, Rays of sunlight pierced through cracked walls, glinting off drifting motes of dust. The stench of death lifted slightly. But Min knew, no sunrise could banish the true darkness that haunted this place. She stepped into the courtyard, her eyes hollow. At the rusted iron gate, a shadow appeared. Hugh. He stood there, smiling faintly. Sadly, "You did well, but it's not over yet." Min burst into tears, running toward him, but the closer she tried to get, the farther he drifted, until his figure dissolved into the morning light. She collapsed to the ground, clutching the diary to her chest. In the wind, a whisper slithered through the air. 2 months from now, I will return. The abandoned school stood silent. But Min knew, the nightmare had only just begun. 2 months passed since that fateful night. Min left Hugh and returned to Saigon. She tried to live like a normal person, teaching, meeting friends, and burying the horrific memories of the abandoned school. Every night, she still dreamed of Hugh. He would stand by the window, smiling, but he never called her name. Still, Min believed his soul had finally found peace. That belief was the only thing that kept her going after the nightmares. One morning, after finishing her classes, Min stopped by her usual coffee shop. As soon as she sat down, a white envelope appeared in front of her. No one saw who left it there. Inside was a single piece of paper. "We're not done yet. The school is waiting for you." The handwriting was jagged, trembling, red like blood. Min's hand shook violently as she gripped the note. That night, Min sat in her small rented room, the dim desk lamp casting shadows across the old diary she had never dared to throw away. When she opened the first page, her phone suddenly rang. An unknown number. "Hello?" Min's voice trembled. On the other end was the hoarse voice of a man, echoing as if from far away. "Don't go back there. You don't understand what you've unleashed." "Who are you?" Min shouted, her heart pounding. "I was once a teacher there. I know, none of the deaths were accidents. The school was a seal. When you fed blood into the diary, the seal was broken." Static crackled. Then the line went dead. Min slammed the phone onto the table, sweat pouring down her forehead. She turned to the diary again. Its cover was now bleeding, thick drops spilling onto the tiled floor. She couldn't take it anymore. Part fear, part the gnawing thought that Hugh had never truly been freed. That same night, she boarded a bus back to Hugh. The rain poured relentlessly, lightning tearing across the sky. When the taxi stopped before the abandoned school, Min shivered. The rusty gate stood wide open, and faint candlelight flickered inside the courtyard. Stepping in, she saw that the desks had been neatly arranged, the dust gone. On the podium stood a man in a black dye, his back turned to her. His voice was low and cold. "Welcome back. The final lesson has yet to begin." He turned. His face was ghostly pale, his eyes black and bottomless. Min froze, her heart skipping a beat. The man raised his hand. The diary in Min's grasp grew scorching hot, its pages flipping wildly. From within, the faces of students appeared, screaming, begging for help. "You saved them, but who will save you?" He laughed darkly. Min trembled, but in that instant, she heard Hugh's voice right behind her. "Min, don't be afraid, I'm here." She spun around. Hugh was there, his eyes gentle. He held out his hand. "If you want to end this, do it with me." Tears streamed down her face. Min clasped his hand and shouted with him, "Let's end it." A burst of white light engulfed the school. The walls shook, screams filled the air, then silence. When Min opened her eyes, she stood outside the closed gate of the school. The morning light spilled across the misty courtyard. The diary was gone, Hugh was gone, only she remained, and a promise etched deep in her heart. "If the darkness returns, I will come back." The abandoned school stood silent in the fog, but from far away, it sounded like someone was laughing.